Hello everybody and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Evie Young. I'm part of the client services team here at EMSI, and the plan for today is to go through the new functionality we have for Career Coach. Now I'm going to be going through a little bit about the methodology as to why we've made these changes, what changes we've made, and the kind of theories we have behind that, as well as looking at a live example. So I will be going through an actual Career Coach site from the perspective of the student. Now, you do have the option to ask questions throughout this webinar. There is functionality on this webinar system, so please don't hesitate to send in your questions, and I can cover any of those at the end. If not, you'll have my details, so if you have any one-to-one questions, please don't hesitate to get in contact with client services. So first, I just wanted to go over a little bit about EMSI, so who we are and what we do. So EMSI actually stands for Economic Modelling Specialists International, and we are essentially a data company. We work mainly around education, so whether that's colleges, universities, local authorities, LEPs, combined authorities, to help provide that data to help people make better decisions relating to the world of work. Now, we designed Career Coach with all of that in mind, all of the data and all of the knowledge we already have, but we wanted very much to keep the learner in mind. Now, there are four main areas of interest we saw when learners are making decisions around their future. The first one being their job, so what career they're going to be going into, what jobs they want to be doing. The employers, so the organisations that will be hiring them. The skills, whether that's skills that they will be learning in the future, skills that they already have, or skills that they need to prepare for in the future. And also their education provider. So that might be an education provider that they've been with historically, or something they're wanting to go into the future. And we saw about how all of this connects in together. Now, we focused on the main questions around each of these 4 points. So looking at a job, the students wanted to know very much about what that job entails, how much they're going to be earning. They wanted the detail behind that and more information. The employers, again, they're wanting local information. So who are their local employers, what jobs there are out there at the moment, what they might be needing in the future. Again, very similar with the skills. So what skills do they already have? What might they be needing? And again, how that's relevant to them rather than any other student or anyone else in the country. And their education providers. So what courses are available, what careers are going to lead on from those courses, and how they interlink together. So we took all of that into consideration and we basically put that into Career Coach and the methodology behind Career Coach. Now, it's very easy to see the Career Coach, if you've seen a Career Coach site before, is very useful for careers advice and guidance. There's a lot of data around certain careers. All of the career information and all of the data that we're going to be seeing is specific to your region. So again, I'll cover this a little bit later on, but all of the data that we have, you can look at under local authority level, which means that it's very localised data, and you can build out your data region specific to your organisation or where your learners are coming from. But it's also incredibly useful for marketing and recruitment. Again, if you're wanting to encourage learners to look at certain courses, or you have maybe hard to fill courses, things like wage information are incredibly powerful to students, and a little bit of understanding as to what kind of goes into that career. Again, I mentioned wage information because that's what most of us look at in the first place, and that's kind of what I've seen most people are particularly interested in. There's also the employer engagement side as well. So employers play a huge part in a student journey and their outcomes. So we've included an employer portal into Career Coach, which again I'll go over a little bit later, which allows employers to connect directly with the students and allow them to have a bit of interaction through Career Coach and the job postings they have out there. There's also the student engagement side of it as well. So it's all very well and good using this for marketing and recruitment and getting your students on board, but there's also a lot of really useful information in Career Coach that they can take with them throughout their student journey and things to help them along the way as well. So how does Career Coach work? So we take your course information. We can either take that from your website, or if you want to provide us a selected list of courses, we can take that information and we can match that through to LMI data. So we use government SOC code, which is the standard occupation classifications. They're government codes that basically include absolutely all occupations in the country. Everybody's job fits into one of these particular SOC codes. Now, we use the most detailed information we can around these codes to be able to provide students and learners with the data for that particular career or their chosen occupation. So that includes the daily tasks for that job, how many are currently employed, what might be happening in the future, whether that's due to grow or decline, and the wage information for that as well. Now, that's what we've had in our previous Career Coach site, and it's incredibly useful information, but we're wanting to expand on that a little bit more, hence why we've created a new Career Coach. So some of the new features that we've added in, starting back at the beginning, looking at your courses, we've grouped together the courses that you're able to provide us into course areas. Again, this makes it a little bit easier for the students to have a look at similar or related courses. We've also added a little bit more of our structural data, our labour market data, including the education levels, again, so the student can start to set their expectations of what they might need for that particular occupation. And we've also looked at career families as well. So again, if they're wanting to look at similar careers, they're nice and easily grouped together so that students can see that already. We've also added in some of our job posting analytics data as well. So we've scraped job boards throughout the UK and pulled out all of the interesting bits of data from those particular job postings. So all of those job postings that we take, we link those back to that structural data, so those SOC codes, which makes it really easy to be able to compare and contrast the structural data that we have against those job postings. So we can look at specific skills that employers are asking for, the names of those local employers, how often they're posting for those jobs, and comparing that back to our LMI data as well. Now we have all of this sort of new data in here as well. We've got a few other new features as well, so it's much easier to use, and we've got much more useful information in there as well. So how was our data structures? As I've hinted at earlier, we have our structural data and we have these new job posting analytics. So up on your screen right now are just some of the data sources that we use for our structural data. Most of them are taken from the Office of National Statistics. These are government data sets that are released by the government that look at things like industries, occupations, how they relate to each other. So there's things that everybody has heard of, things like the census that come out once in a blue moon. There are things that are a little bit more sector specific. So DEFRA data, not up on your screen right now, just looks purely at agriculture and agricultural data. There are things that are a little bit more region specific. So Scotland and Wales have their own data sets that we can look at a little bit more in depth. So we've included that, all of our structural data from those government data sets, and also included the job posting analytics, which are a little bit more flexible. They're taken, as I've mentioned, they're taken from online sources, from online job postings. Again, it's just looking at the regional demand for employers that are hiring at the moment. Obviously, if you're putting a posting online, chances are you're hiring for those positions. And again, sort of understanding how that local data influences our structural LMI. It's incredibly useful to use both sources hand in hand as well. So we do that so that to give your students a full picture of what's happening in their region and what we expect to be happening in their region as well. So we can run through now and look at an example of a career coach site. So up on your screen right now is the career coach site that we are going to be using for today's demo. Now, if you have your site already built and you've had a little look, you might see that this one might look slightly different to yours. You might not have your courses linked in yet. You might not have your work opportunities. You might see colours are different, or the tabs are slightly different. Career Coach is completely customizable. So it's completely up to you what you're wanting to turn on, what you're wanting to switch off. And if you're wanting to change any of the images or colours, it's completely up to you within the system as well. Now, just on the home page, we have our Welcome to Career Coach. We have some easy to use tiles, again, depending on what students are wanting to have a look at first, whether they know they want to do an assessment first, if they have a chosen career or a course, if they're just looking for the CV builder. We have a little bit of information underneath that. We've just added a little bit of text just to help students understand why they're on Career Coach and what the site can do. And we also have a little video in there as well. Again, all of these are completely customizable, so if you have a video that you would rather have on that homepage, again, we can set that up for you as well. So bits that you won't see on the site that we've added changes to. So if you're using Career Coach site on a tablet or on a mobile, this new Career Coach site is much, much friendlier to use on a tablet or a mobile. It's much faster and more responsive. And the design is much cleaner and easier to use as well. We also have much better reporting in the back end, so if you're wanting to understand your user's journey, where your users are coming from, which marketing campaigns are working better than others, you're able to see much more in-depth analytics in the background as well. Now, Career Coach is designed with 3 students in mind. The ones that know what course they want to do, the ones that know what career they want to do, and the ones that have absolutely no idea, which I would assume is probably the majority. So what I'm going to do is start here at the career assessment and then work my way across these tabs at the top. So we have the career assessment just as an example for students to use if they're not quite sure what they want to do, or they're just wanting to get a little bit of an idea what might be right for them. We have a quick start assessment, which is 6 questions, 6 very, very easy questions, which we're going to be going over today. But we also have a much more detailed assessment, which looks at 60 questions. This is probably more advisable for tutorial sessions or to sit down with a career advisor or a parent to kind of go through in a little bit more detail. We'll also be releasing a 30-question assessment, which we will be adding to the Career Coach site as well, just as an in-between, as kind of a mid-length assessment as well. So today we're going to go through the 6-question assessment. As I say, you don't have to worry about what education level you've already done or any training you've already done. These questions focus on more about your likes and your dislikes. So what do you want to do? What do you like doing? Rather than what the student or the learner has already done. Now, the questions are fairly simple. You have the option to agree, disagree, strongly disagree, which again, we feel that students will probably be used to doing. Now, I'm just going to pop some random results in here as well. So I've just agreed and disagreed on some. It will process those results, and you can see it's given us our top 3 traits here. So for the student that puts their results in exactly the same way I have done, they can go through and just read a little bit more about their results and their top 3 traits. Underneath these traits, it's also linked that through to your top career matches. Now you'll see them, rather than suggesting one very specific occupation, we're now suggesting career areas. So again, it makes it a little bit easier for the student if they were in the right kind of area, but maybe it's not the specific career that they want to do, or maybe they want to earn a little bit more money or find a little bit more detail. So they can click into any of these particular student areas. Again, we've got the match percentages on the side. They can just click into them and you'll see that we've broken that down again. So having a look at the different career families that sit within that as well. Now from there, they can go through to a list of careers. I'm going to stop here personally because we're going to be going into that anyway. So this should help students. Again, we've seen people use this option. It's very popular for open days, things like that, to just have computers around the room. If learners want to go in, just do a very, very quick career assessment. Again, it's just preparing them for those courses and being able to link back as to what they're wanting to do. Now linking through to careers. So just as an example, if we have a student that's looking at what career they want to do, they can just click on the career tab at the top. And again, it's the same career families that we've seen before. You'll see that because I have done a career assessment and I am actually logged in, I've created an account within Career Coach, it will actually save my search results. And again, all of the information I'll see is actually bespoke to my career assessment. Now I can take that off, but just for the time being, I'm going to keep with my matches. Now, if I'm interested in IT and I'm wanting to look at IT related occupations, I can just click into that. And as you'll see, it's now just having a look at related IT occupations. Now you'll see we've got a few new features within these career pages as well. We are able to sort by different filters. At the moment, I'm looking at the match results based on my assessment, but if I wanted to have a look at salary information, again, we can just reorder that and it will have a look at the highest median salary. Again, this is specific to your region. This is not national averages, these are regional averages. And we've also included a new feature which looks at the education level. So this looks at everybody who is currently employed within this field, within this particular occupation, and it looks at the occupation levels that they currently have. Now you'll see as we go down, because we've listed it by salary, it will just order it from from the highest to the lowest, and provide those education levels. Again, we're not filtering by those particular education levels, but we are just looking at the highlighted one for the bachelor's because that's what we've selected. So I'm going to have a look at programmers and software developers in a little bit more detail. So if I click on this particular career, you can see we've got our median salary information, which was highlighted on the first page, and we've also got how many are currently employed within our region as well. Now you'll see within our region, I've actually just focused this near our main office, near Basingstoke, but you'll also see you have the option to select different campuses or different regions. Now I've just highlighted this particular area on the map as campus area, but you are able to chop and change these as much as you want. So if you do have any questions about that, feel free to get in contact with client services and we can see what we can do to make it more relevant for your users. So we've got a little bit of our headline information around this particular career, but underneath this, we've also got the available courses. Now I am just using an MZ demo site, and obviously we are not a college or a training provider. So I've just put some really really rubbish random examples of courses, obviously because we don't relate to specific courses. I haven't linked it back to any specific education providers, so we've just got some examples in here, but all of the courses that you see on your site will be specific to you guys, and these will be your courses. So we are able to change the mappings that we do between these given courses and the careers that relate onto that courses. We'll provide the basic mapping once we get you up and running, just to make your life a little bit easier, but you can go through and change those as much as you want. Again, if you're wanting a bit more information, you can contact client services and we can give you a workbook, which is a really quick and easy way for you to see which courses we map to which careers. So going across our tabs at the top, we now split the data that we have up in a little bit more, a much more easier to use way. So we have the information that looks at about. So this looks at the daily tasks. Again, this is taken from the ONS website. It's just very basic information around our programmers and software developers and their daily tasks. We have the national education level. Again, so this is the national average of what education levels programmers and software developers have. Again, this is useful just to see what is expected. Again, these aren't minimum requirements, but what is expected generally for this particular occupation. And underneath that, we have the skills that employers are asking for as well. Again, this is specific to your region because we're looking at localized job postings. So what those what skills those postings have. And again, for this particular example, we're looking at programming languages. Which programming languages might be more popular in your area or more in demand in your area compared to others. The next tab across just looks at wage information. So we provide this on a scale, so you can look at entry-level wages versus the averages as well to provide a little bit more information. If I go across to employment, We've got our monthly job postings, so you can see how often our employers are posting, whether it's particularly seasonal. And underneath that, we have the company's posting as well. Obviously, if you're a company and you're putting a posting online, you'll either have the name of the direct employer or the recruitment agency. So you can see if you are interested in this job, chances are you'll be speaking to one of these companies, or these are particularly relevant for your region. And looking a little bit more at the structural data, so employment projections, so what's happened with a little bit of historic data, and what's projected to be happening in the future as well, whether this occupation is due to grow or whether the occupation is due to decline. Back up to the top again, and finally, the last tab is looking at live job postings. Now, this is taken from Indeed, the job aggregation board, and it just lists job postings within our given region as well. So we've just provided just a little sample on here, but any of your users can click into that, and it will take you through to Indeed, it will take you through to the job site, and again they can go through and have a read of that particular job site, that particular job advert, and apply, or just have a little nosy if they want to. So in terms of the data, we've broken it up so it's a little bit easier to use, whereas before we had it just all on one page, and we've split that up, so hopefully it's a little bit easier to use for your students. Now, that's just looking at the career information. I'm going to jump over to have a look at our course information. As I said, if any of your users do find a course that they want to have a look at from the career pages, they can click straight into this and it will take them directly to the course page. So say if we have a student that knows what course they want to do or what course area they want to do, you'll see that we've grouped these under those course areas, and they can click into them and it will provide them with a list of available courses. Now again, I'm just using some made-up courses for this particular demo, this particular example, but the courses that you have will be specific to you. Now I'm just going to click on the first one, Access to Higher Education for Computing, and you'll see that we have our course information button, which we will link back to your home page. Career Coach will always link it back to your home page or to that given course page, so it should give the user a nice kind of cyclical journey, so that if they are wanting to have a look at those careers and they're wanting to have a look at the courses that they will do to get into that career, it will always lead back to your website. Just as for our example, I've actually just linked this back to our MZ website, just because we're using this as a demo. Underneath that, we have our related careers. Now we're still matching it based on our assessment that we did earlier, just because I'm logged in for my profile. But you'll see we've got a little bit of headline information that we touched on earlier, so the median salary, a little bit about that particular job, and the top entry-level occupations. So before we looked at programmers and software developers, and access to higher education was actually the first related course, and you can see it's related in here as well. So that is it for the courses. All of the information we've seen so far, you can also bookmark if the student wants to create a profile and then come back to that information later, or wanting to have a read through later, they can just click on the save button. And it will save it into your profile. Now, some of the additional features that we have in Career Coach, one of them is the CV builder, which I'm going to touch on very, very quickly. So as it suggests, it can help you build a CV. You'll see that we have broken this up into chunks of information that the student can add in and then come back to the next day or the next week if they're wanting to break up the actual building of the CV. And again, we've just highlighted different areas that we found that most people would include in their CV. We've also, we've still got our function in here that looks at any given occupation and can help prompt your students and your learners with their information. So if I just select my part-time job, just as an example for my user, I'm going to say that I was a part-time waitress. I can just click on that given job, and you'll see that it selects work tasks or related tasks, and I can just click on these to add those into my CV. Now, as you can see, it'll add those saved tasks. You can also enter custom tasks, so you can chop and change them as much as you want. But it'll give your users a good place to start when they're starting to think about any career options or any part-time jobs, what skills they already have, and how they can evidence them, that using the CV builder. Now I'm just going to cancel this just for my example. You'll also see at the top here you can upload 6 CVs. So if you can see that students can basically upload as many as they want, they can chop and change as many as they want. If they're looking at multiple careers or multiple companies and wanting to respond directly to those adverts, they can change those CV slightly and store them within that profile. Now, the final addition that I wanted to have a look at today was the work opportunities functionality. So this is a new feature, which basically means that you can include any employers that you're working with in partnership with can actually add any vacancies they have directly onto your career coach site. Now, they'll need to get prior approval from you guys to make sure that that's okay, and you'll get prior approval of any job postings that are posted on the site. But it basically means that students have one place where they can have a look at live job postings through the career information, through Indeed, but they can also have a look at the employer partnerships that you guys are working with as well. This can be part-time jobs, full-time jobs, apprenticeships, any work placements. It's completely up to you what you want to include in here. Now I've just got our example. We've just added one posting as a quick example, so you'll have a bit of a job description, a bit of a description around the company as well, and you can actually submit a CV straight from the CV builder. If you create a profile and create a CV in there, you can actually do this all in one place, so that the employer can see the CV through there as well. Now, you might see for the time being that we've had this switched off. If you don't have any work opportunities already listed, then we'll just switch that off for the time being. But if you are interested in finding out a little bit more information and how we can switch that on, again, feel free to contact Client Services and we'll be more than happy to help. So in terms of the functionality for Career Coach, again, I've just tried to touch on all of the new features that we've got, as well as some of the existing features that we've improved upon. If you do have any questions about absolutely anything, we're always here to help. Before I have a look at any questions, if we have any questions so far on the webinar, it's always